Tomorrow, Stephen Raucci, the former Schenectady Schools employee convicted of vandalism and setting off explosives, will learn how long he'll spend behind bars. Raucci was convicted in April of 18 of the 22 counts against him. He was spared the terrorism charge, though. He orchestrated years of intimidation and harassment as the director of facilities for the school district, as well as the union boss, including some of the accusations included planting pipe bombs at the homes of his adversaries. And at his sentencing tomorrow, Raucci could be looking at life in prison. And joining us to talk about the sentencing and what may happen is attorney Thomas Carr with Tully Rinckey Law Firm. Tom, thanks for being with us today.
Happy to be here, sir.
Let's kind of break down the charges. The significant one is the Class A felony for arson, and that could get him the most time.
Right, that's a Class A1 felony, so that he's looking at 15 to life on that charge alone. And obviously he was convicted of 18 counts of the 22-count indictment. Because the counts relate to different events, different dates, any sentences imposed on those events can run consecutively. In other words, he would have to do a minimum of 15 years on the arson, plus if he got 10 years on another charge, he wouldn't start serving that 10 years until the 15 years on the arson is up.
So reasonably, what could we be looking at? At least 30?
Any time that consecutive sentences are imposed like that, there is a cap depending on the number, but he'd be looking at a cap of probably 30 to 40 years. So he's 61 years old. I don't think he's ever going to see the outside of a prison again.
What else is the judge going to take into account? Clearly, some of the victims testified during the trial. More than likely, a few of them will give victim impact statements tomorrow. How important are those going to be in making the judge's mind?
I think that the judge is probably going to be about 85 to 90% of the way there in her mind as to what the sentence is going to be. But the victim impact statements can really have an impact on the judge, as they did in that case in Troy a couple of weeks ago. The mechanics of it tomorrow is that the DA will get a chance to make a pitch for a sentence. Then there will be the victim impact statements, and Mr. Raucci and his attorney will also be allowed to address the court.
It'll be interesting to hear what he has to say. He's been fairly defiant and not overly apologetic, at least in an interview he gave earlier, about a month ago. It'll be interesting to know what he has to say.
Right. Well, it's a conviction after a trial. It's not a plea deal, so obviously there's going to be an appeal, so I wouldn't expect him to admit his guilt tomorrow. He's probably going to be asserting his innocence all the way.
All right. Tom, thank you so much, and we'll be watching what happens tomorrow. We appreciate you being here.